Well, I have one other Broadway question for you because probably the best compliment that you can get about your own musical attempts and your lyrics is to have someone evoke the name Stephen Sondheim. And you have met him and talked to him, so I'm wondering, what have you said about his music and lyrics, and what has he said about yours?
You know, he actually hasn't really commented on mine, mostly because if he ever brings up the subject, I change it instantly because he's a truthful fella, and I'm too terrified to hear anything he has to say. So I did send him Dr. Horrible because, of course, Neil has done a couple of his shows, and he's a big fan of Neil's, and he said, "Oh, it's really good." I'm like, "Great, okay, good. You liked it, good. Moving on, next question." Because I was just, I'm too terrified to come under that eye. To be compared to him, yeah, that's about the ambition of my life. I mean, there is no other single writer who has influenced me more or who has taught me more about humanity than Stephen Sondheim.
Your TV shows, other than The Sopranos, are probably and Twin Peaks, are probably the most dissected shows in academia. So I'm wondering whose analysis surprises you more, the professors or the website fans?
I'm not as up on the professors as I perhaps could be, I try not to read too much deconstruction because ultimately, if you start to look behind your own curtain too much, you might just lose some of your own magic, and it's a very easy trap to fall into. You also might begin to think that you are the greatest writer in the history of letters, and that you go on a website that's all about you for a while. You forget that there's 12 people on it. You think the entire world is talking about me and my genius. I can't possibly write anything because I'm paralyzed by my own genius. It can be a little damaging. However, I have looked at some stuff, and I will say that my favorite stuff has been things from fans who pick up just little things that I hadn't necessarily understood or intended, but that I had absolutely done. And that's a real joy for an artist. I actually, was able to spend some time with Sondheim because he read an interview with me where I said something about Sunday in the Park that he had never thought.
What was that?
And well, it surprised me because I sort of assumed it was the reason that I said that the first act was about the burden of genius, and the second act was about the burden of not being a genius. That those are the two
that
things
is good.
that every
that is
artist.
Good. Yeah.
And I think it's very true, and it's why I love the second act, which some people discount. But it's what every artist goes through. The pain of being near the muse and trying to live a life at the same time, and then the pain of not being near the muse. And we're all going through all of it. So that was sort of my thing. And like anybody who's a true artist, Stephen Sondheim is, he's ready to be, he's ready to learn. He wants to know. He has an insatiable curiosity, and he's ready to hear more and to be disagreed with, and just to sort of engage in what's around him. And so it intrigued him that he hadn't thought of that. And so that opened a door for me. That's been one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life, is spending time with this great man.
Did you ever get an aha thing from a fan that was something like that about your own approach?
Well, I definitely didn't see the lesbian subtext between Buffy and Faith until a fan
you have to be kidding
me to
me.
their website.
You have to be kidding.
No, I really didn't. And and in fact, I became irate. A fan, somebody wrote on, because I checked the posting boards all the time back then, because it was a new way to hear from the audience. And it was still very fresh and exciting. And somebody said, "Oh, there's lesbian subtext," and I just blew up. I was like, "You guys see lesbian subtext behind every corner. I mean, when Buffy's mom had a friend over, you're all lesbian subtext." I'm like, "Guys, you just want to see girls kissing. It's not lesbian subtext." and get over it. And the person who wrote it said, we would like you to go to our website where we have dissected every episode and written our treatise about the lesbian subtext. I went on it and came back and apologized. It was like, everything you said is true. It's all right there. And, you know, it's where I first coined the phrase BYO subtext, because I realized that, you know, part of art is going to be people bringing, it's got to touch everybody in a way that's totally personal. And I think the problem with a lot of mass art, a lot of, you know, the studio stuff, is they think that means that you want to hit everybody in the same way. You want, you know, you want to be able to reach everybody. You want a 4-quadrant movie. Old people like it, young people like it, men and women. And, you know, and so you want to sort of homogenize the experience. But in fact, if it's really working, if it's really art, it is touching everybody, and it's doing it differently for every person, because what they're doing is incorporating their story into it. And that's what these people were doing, and that's what I'd been giving them to do. I'd been giving them the material to do it without ever knowing it. And, you know, when you're doing something and you don't know it, you know, that's the difference between just, you know, crafting a nice chair and art.
Well, Joss Whedon, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us again. It was great having you back on.
Thank you.
Joss Whedon speaking with David Bianculli of TVWorthWatching.com. David's also Fresh Air's TV critic. Whedon's new show Dollhouse premieres on Fox tomorrow night.